actually this is a YouTube story exclusive. It's been covered. They've done some interviews with media, with newspapers, done some radio, but this is the first YouTube coverage of it. And so we are going to be bringing on to the stage, the virtual stage, Hadeeqa Arzoo Malik, who is a 21-year-old organizer, student, poet, and student leader of the Tamkeen movement, which aims to uplift the Muslim community through education and social organization. She's a double major in political science and international relations and minors in human rights. And she was recently suspended from CUNY City College for pro-Palestine activism. We're also going to be joined by her partner in crime, in some ways, Dr. Corinna Mullin, who is an anti-imperialist academic who was recently fired from her job as adjunct faculty at the City University of New York for her Palestine solidarity work. Corinna is a member of the Anti-Imperialist Scholars Collective, a delegate in the PSC CUNY Delegate Assembly, and serves on the steering committee of the PSC CUNY's International Committee. She organizes with CUNY for Palestine and Labor for Palestine, and is an associate editor for Middle East Critique and Science and Society. So welcome, Corinna and Hadeeqa. Thank you so much for joining.
Hi, thanks so much for having us.
Both of you have very inspiring stories. Tell us a little bit in your own words about what you were doing and what kind of good trouble you got into, what the consequences you're facing right now are.
Most recently, I was fired. I'm one of the fired four adjuncts, fired from Brooklyn College. We haven't been given any reason by the administration. And, they're not obliged to, because as adjuncts, we have very weak contractual protections, structurally precarious in our labor. Our contracts say that we can be fired for any reason or no reason at all. And I think, the administration, thinks it's being clever by not giving us the reasons so that, they can't be held accountable for violating our constitutional protections.
Right.
And yeah.
Which is, by the way, a great example, right? I mean, people talk about this a lot, how Palestine is not just Palestine as an issue. It's a climate issue. It's a gender issue, and it's a labor issue. I mean, this is a really clear case of that, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's a labor issue for all kinds of reasons. One of the areas of organizing I do as well is with Labor for Palestine. And, of course, now we've been focusing a lot on the issue of repression, retaliation, the measures taken against workers who stand out and, and speak out in solidarity with Palestine. But on the other hand, it's a labor issue because, we can use our labor power to stop the genocide. And increasingly workers are doing that, attempting to shut down supply chains, delivering weapons to Israel, through, trying to get our institutions, our places of employment, or even our unions, our pension funds to divest from settler colonial genocide, imperialist warfare. So absolutely. And Palestine, all the various issues coalesce around Palestine, also in connection to racist policing, the carceral state, military industrial complex. So yeah, absolutely.
I hope this doesn't get to your head, but you were featured in none other than the wonderful New York Post. Let's take a look here. Anti-Israel professor who allegedly helped organize vile CUNY protests must be probed, New York City polls demand. An Israel-hating CUNY professor allegedly helped organize a vile campus protest that resulted in $3 million in damage, a pair of city council members alleged. Council members Ina Vernikov, Republican of Brooklyn, and Kalman Yeager, Democrat of Brooklyn, are calling for an investigation and potentially the professor's firing. They claim they have credible information. Adjunct political science professor Corinna Mullin was among the ringleaders of the April encampment at the City College of New York's Harlem campus. This is back from November 24th, but I just wanted to give everyone a chance to see that you've really made it, because you've incurred the ire not just of the New York Post, but also of Ina Vernikov, and she herself should get a lot of credit.
She's a caricature of herself. I mean, really fascist, right-wing politician. who showed up at a CUNY protest at Brooklyn College with a gun and just makes a career out of going after people who are standing up for social justice issues, and especially Palestine. She's gone after so many of our organizers at CUNY, including people like Nordine Kiswani and Fatima Mohammed. So yeah, I wear it as a badge of honor. There she is with that gun.
Yep.
And you know what? I should mention here that the president of Brooklyn College, Michelle Anderson, still to this day has never said a word about this, didn't condemn it, hasn't mentioned it. It's ridiculous because she put students, we're joking about it, but it's scary. She put students' lives at risk. And, the fact that our administration said nothing about it is so telling about where their interests lie and whose interests they protect.
Right.
Ruling class interests, not the interests of its predominantly Black and brown working class students and faculty.
Right. Also, she doesn't just rock a gun occasionally. She also likes to rock a very elegant, glamorous, according to Fox News, Israel flag dress. Here she is.
I know.
Trigger warning, pretty hideous on all levels. But yeah,
Horrific.
There you have it. Yeah.
In the middle of a genocide.
Right.
Horrific.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Hadeeqa, tell us what happened to you, what you did, did in quotes, why you got into this good trouble.
Yeah, so I have been the president of Students for Justice in Palestine's chapter at City College for a while now. And I think, honestly, the targeting started from there. The second I joined the club, it was always the most surveilled and the most targeted on campus. And then when the CUNY Gaza Solidarity encampments happened last year, the militarization and the surveillance increased exponentially. Honestly, there was not a single day on campus within the past year in which I was not intensely watched or followed on campus by public safety, by even Zionists that would try to intimidate me on campus. And so I think that was like the context, is that like this has been ongoing targeting and situation, but they got all of these accusations exactly where they wanted on February 27th, 2025. So we had a protest because the governor of New York came to City College, thought that she could come to City College. Actually, she didn't come to City College because we ended up, our protest ended up deterring her from coming to the event that she was going to put on. And so we made it loud and clear that war criminals are not welcomed on our campus, because prior to that day, she had just removed the Palestinian Studies job listing for professors at Hunter College that same month. And this was on top of her threatening all New York State. It's
so
disgusting.
Pathetic. Yeah.
And her threatening all New York State college and university presidents that if they don't crack down on student protests for Palestine, then she would start removing financial aid and funding for those very students and the very schools. And so we were loud and clear about the fact that she was not welcomed on our campus. And so we held a protest, and CUNY has weaponized and created, honestly, these bogus policies called the Henderson Rules, which they're calling their sort of neutral code of conduct policies that they keep for students on campus to sort of maintain public order. But they've been only used and created as a means of repression and repressing student movements. And so I was specifically accused and suspended on the basis of violating Henderson Rules 1 and 7. And number one was the fact that I was, not willing to allow students to comfortably, in silence, be able to go to class and go to school while we're learning and Gaza is burning. And so the claim exactly was that I was a threat to campus life, and I was infringing on the rights of other students to their education, while every single university in Gaza has been destroyed. Not a single one has been left to stand, while CUNY has funded the destruction of every single one of those universities. And Henderson Rule number 7 that they claimed I violated was, a sense of disrespect and not maintaining a code of conduct on campus. And so they specifically made it a point to mention that I was really disrespectful and targeted a Muslim police officer for his name being Muhammad, basically alluding to the fact that they're calling me Islamophobic. which is the funniest and crazy.
Self-loathing. Maybe you're self-loathing.
It's absurd.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, there was a video that had gone a little viral, but it was in a moment of time in which, the NYPD, one of their tactics that they use, one of many repressive tactics, is they go straight for the hijabs. For sisters on the front lines of protests, they are intentional about ripping off hijabs at these protests in their brutality. And another thing that they do,
gross.
I think especially after 2020, when they lost a lot of their publicity and got a lot of bad PR, they have felt the need to put Black and brown police officers at the front lines of these protests to make us think that if a Black or brown person is repressing us, it's any bit better than if a white police officer were to do the same, as if that makes a difference to us. And so in a moment of time in which we're at this protest and there's a line of cops lined up to repress our movement, to stand there and intimidate our movement, and also try to sort of like fragment our movement and bottle kettle us. On one side of our protest, we had the entire Muslim Student Association leadership sort of arrested on one side. And on the other side, you have a Palestinian hijabi woman who is, upon police orders, actually, moving from the street to the sidewalk. And as she does so, a Muslim police officer out of everybody in that line of cops whips out his baton and threatens to hit her with it, while also simultaneously looking like he's going for the hijab. In this moment, I, as a Muslim, am very, very frustrated at the situation. And so, in this moment, I did a mic check. We called out the hypocrisy in this moment and the fact that somebody who can wear a badge along the names of Muhammad or Abdurrahman or Abdullah cannot be walking around acting in such a disgusting manner and functioning within a system that's literally the arm of the oppressor. And so I said, put some respect on that name. And that ended up being one of the means in which I was suspended because I was apparently Islamophobic for that.
So amazing. Right.
Amazing. And then the two CCNY demonstration policies that I allegedly violated were not getting a permit to protest, which if you get a permit to protest, it's not a protest anymore. Right. It's just their means of trying to control and have a sense of authority over free speech on campus, which goes into the second rule that I allegedly violated, which was that I didn't stay in the little pig pen that they created, that they called their freedom of speech zone, which in itself is crazy because if you have a free speech corner, right, what does that make the rest of the campus? I don't know.
Exactly. Right. It's a free speech free campus.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's also really important to note that these were policies and rules that we had never been a thing before. Prior to them doing this in the middle of June, they're really clearly showing the escalation in their repression and how they're creating things as they go to see how far that they can sort of push the line of repression, to see how much that they can get away with. And so that's why Corinna and I and the rest of the students and faculty that have been affected by the repression at CUNY have been making it such a big point to launch campaigns to call out CUNY's repression at every given moment that we can, because this is exactly how they intend to get away with killing over 400,000 Palestinians in Gaza in broad daylight, and we cannot let that happen.